Okay, guys, welcome to the channel and another video. It's a little bit different video, other than the videos you never see our face on. It's only the second time we've done this now.
Yeah.
It's Dinosaur on YouTube. You probably know him on YouTube. So the video here we're making, we're gonna kind of cover this upcoming series I'm gonna be working on. That, and we've also been wanting to do a little bit of a. I don't know if you really want to necessarily call it a podcast, but it's more like a podcast video, kind of similar but not the same as what Joe Rogan does. We're going to kind of do it more
Oh, really?
railroad related.
You really have to reference Joe Rogan in this?
Yeah.
That was the best you could come up with was Joe Rogan?
Yeah.
Oh, we have so much work to do.
So yeah, I guess we'll start off by covering the series we're about to start. We are me mostly. He's going to join me on a little bit of it. If you get getting away from work, because some of you guys out there might be railroaders. You know how hard it is to get away from the railroad for more than a day.
It's very seldom done.
Yeah, it's just
But it's kind of everywhere now.
yeah.
If you pay attention to like social media and stuff, even warehouses and fast food stuff, it's everywhere now. It's just American working.
Yeah, like I just heard it recently, you have an easier time getting time off at the railroad than you do at Amazon. Like, what?
At least it seems that way. 'Cause, Amazon seems to never stop, even for holidays.
Yeah, like even Sundays now, for the longest time the mail would never run on Sundays, but for certain Amazon deliveries, they'll literally have the mail run on Sundays because Amazon's got to get their money and got to get their packages out.
It's like a railroad runs on a lot of holidays too.
Yeah.
But, they at least reduce it to only the stuff that has to go.
Yeah. But yeah, back to the series. It's going to be kind of covering the different trains and the different jobs I did at the railroad in my very short time there, thanks to, NS doing what NS does best. Cutting people, cutting engines, cutting anything they can cut to make enough money for the stockholders, because employees, customers, and everything nothing else matters as long as their stockholders get their pockets lined with money. That's all that matters at the railroad. Stockholders and yeah.
And my stories will be, if I tell any stories on here, they will be intentionally vague because I'm still employed, and I would like to keep it that way.
Yeah. It's typical environment, the railroad for it. It will fire you for looking the wrong way.
And again, in general, any form of industry apparently, because there's no rights of talking.
Apparently, I forgot to turn off the radio. As defect detector just went off.
That'd be aight. It'd be aight.
So yeah, we'll cover by different jobs. I want to try to keep the trains we cover kind of in order of what job I did first to the last job I did. Which, if I remember right, I believe the first job we're going to be looking at is the local that runs between Bellevue and Huron. I worked out of Mormon Terminal when I worked at NS. Did mostly locals. I got on a few road jobs before they decided to cut a bunch of people. So yeah, you'd be seeing a lot of locals, a few road trains mixed in here and there, and then if we get lucky, if I can catch them, is the Northern Ohio Western. They seem to be very elusive to catch. They work maybe one day out of the whole week. And it's like at the weirdest times.
So this is your camp chase, your region's camp chase.
Yeah.
Incredible. Every region has one.
Seems like it, don't it? Yeah. Yeah, guys, definitely keep a lookout for that series. It's going to be titled My Days at NS. I believe that's the title I'm going to go with. It's going to be split in multiple different chapters covering each individual job I did. It's going to probably be somewhere between 15 to 20 chapters. There's quite a few locals, and some of them are bigger than others. Like Fremont, the job here in Fremont is probably the biggest. That's going to be a long video. Definitely gonna be cool to see though. Definitely aspects you ain't gonna get from your regular rail fan who didn't work for the railroad. It's gonna be very in depth. That's about all I have to say on the series I'm working on. Now I guess we'll kind of switch over to our little mini podcast about our days working there. Stuff that we don't really have anything to put on a video other than talk about it.
This knucklehead went to training before I did, but I still hit the rails before you did.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's a better thing to be better trained or that just NS doesn't know what they're doing. I'm not exactly sure which.
A little bit of both. Like, NS is probably a good thing that they handle it that way, because on the Class 1s, you're very specialized to your specific job title, whereas in a switching contractor where I work, you better be ready to be a jack of all trades.
Yeah.
Of course, the training's not bad.
Yeah, you got to be the conductor, you got to be the engineer, you have to be the maintenance man, you have to be the switch man. Heck, in some sites, if you got enough experience, they might expect you to be the train master too.
And groundskeeper.
Yeah, groundskeeper. Yeah. Oh yeah, especially you do a switching job for, like, let's say a grain elevator or like a big potash plant like Sunrise, or anybody does really anything with fertilizer. Yeah, you got to clean that off the track.
I don't know about every customer, but just be prepared for some of that, because a lot of switching contractors have some pretty wacky things in their contract.
Yeah, like, if you had a chance to look at some of these contracts, you'd be like, how did that get in there?
Yeah, things they don't really. I mean, again, I'm sure it's everywhere, but it's things they don't tell you when you sign up. Or yeah. they'll tell you just enough to play it down so they can't say that they lied, but just enough they won't scare off any potential candidates.
Yeah, it's stuff they don't tell you.
And it's fun. It's fun work, but it's like it's a lot, and it's a lot to absorb because it's so many different things at once. Which I'm sure you can relate to that at NS, because even though you only had one specific task you really had to do, it covered a whole region of stuff that you have to memorize.
Oh yeah, a whole division, yeah.
Whereas me, it's just one little yard. Of course,
I wouldn't even want to try to count all the yards I had to memorize. The biggest one, of course, Bellevue Terminal, the Mormon Yard there. Like that place is huge. Now, granted, it was nowhere near what it used to be when it was a hump yard, but you can thank PSR and these guys that do anything in the name of the stockholders.
So if you're out there and you're trying to decide between Class 1 or a switching contractor, that's the things you gotta consider. Is you want to cover a whole range of stuff that you gotta memorize with long training, or you want somewhat short training but good training because it's only one yard that you gotta worry about, so you'll pick it up pretty quickly. Or do you want to deal with being on call, because that's what you're going to deal with on the Class 1s. You're on call, you don't really know where you're going to be working, and you got to build up seniority.
Well, then there's the middleman, the short lines.
Yeah. But neither of us really have experience there, though.
No, but, I've talked to some of these guys, I've worked with some of them, especially at the Indiana Ohio Railway.
Yeah. That's
the biggest short line I think there is, frankly.
With a switching contractor, it's basically a 9 to 5. There are some places that do 12-hour shifts, but it's at least it's gonna be the same thing.
As far as I know, don't they usually tell you that before you apply?
Yeah, they tell you that before you apply. That's not gonna be something they catch you with surprisingly, but not all. I'm saying not all of those are the same, but they're all the same in that it's a set schedule. It's not, you're not gonna wake up in the morning to a phone call and then have 22 hours to report to work.
No, not like the Class 1s. Definitely not. Guess we'll talk about some of our crazier stories at the railroad. Stuff you really question, like how did they get away with that? How did they get away from that moment?
I'm guessing you're referring to your boxcar moment in Bellevue.
Well, there's that, and there's a bunch of little smaller moments too.
Oh boy.
stories I heard. I mean, there was the one guy who got fired for having loose shoelaces.
I mean, yeah, I can see that. That's pretty big.
Well, the thing is, the guy was tying his shoelaces. He still got fired for it. Yeah, like how's that work?
How do you get fired for untying your stick? Well, tying your stick of shoelaces.
According to Jeff, it's very easy to do. He knew a guy. Like that's the one time, like somebody who actually had some union reps like that, they actually had to help get that CT off from that. Like that's how bogus that was.
Yeah, because that's I almost don't even believe that story. That is so ludicrous.
Well, see, it's I think that, believe it or not, was the same train master I had problems with, Tim the Train Master. I think it was a guy in Elkhart that Tim the Train Master went after.
That makes sense.
That's just who we refer to the guy as. Just it's Tim the Train Master.
Be careful with your name dropping, though. I mean, even though you're not employed anymore, I would still be very careful about that.
Is that really all of him? He got fired.
That did happen. That did happen.
He literally put a CT in a life or death situation. Superintendent caught him doing it and got fired. According, that's what the rumors are in the grapevine.
Yeah, the guy I heard it from who witnessed it, he said it was just more that something that was outside of that CT's job description.
Okay, yeah.
That goes back to the class ones specializing you, and you stick to one specific thing that your job description requires you to do.
We have another buddy up in Michigan. That's kind of what they have him do. He's got a very set job on a set of locals. It's not even qualified on road trains, so I've never even heard of that on a class one in the modern era. It's just, everybody usually has to deal with a road train. But apparently not in his yard up in Michigan.
Yeah. I don't think his yard recrews the road trains is why.
Yeah. Especially in certain parts of Michigan, there's really nowhere to go other than Canada, and well, that's a whole nother thing entirely.
Yeah.
I mean, they got sticking X-ray and everything else they scan these trains with.
Really?
It's a big old, they call it the big old, the portal tunnels that have like X-rays and a bunch of other little special equipment now. Stuff going across the border. Because apparently a lot of people have been sneaking across the border getting into these boxcars. I feel like they've been combating it with X-ray vision and these portal tunnels.
Hobo in the boxcar, tale as old as time.
Right? Yeah, I forget who I heard that story from, but yeah, they had to have X-ray and thermal vision cameras at the portal tunnels between Canada and the U.S. The issue they had mostly was CN trains coming across the border.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I figured it'd be the other way around.
Yeah. And then, of course, there's the incident. My buddy here, Rex Dinosaur, mentioned, the boxcar incident. Yeah, that was at the Bellevue Hump Yard when they were doing flat switching. It happened before I got into work, but we got into work and started our work as I think it was the BE-23 yard utility. Well, I think it was the Route 4 tower called our yard utility up there to come up to the hump to help them out to re-rail a car. Now, we didn't figure it'd be anything crazy like it was, but we get up there, and no joke, they let this cut of cars hit into the park cut of cars at the bottom of the hump so hard that one of the flat cars lodged underneath a TTX 60-foot IQ boxcar, and it's literally got the back half of the boxcar lifted above the rails. Like, how do you manage that? Like, that's some serious gravity management there.
That's called taking something over the hump that says "Do not hump." It's got that sticker on it for a reason.
Yeah. Yeah, but no joke. They basically have us playing tug of war with the boxcar on top of that flat car. We have to pull that whole cut with the flat car on the end from underneath it. And somehow we managed to do it after like 4 hours of playing around with it. Like, I think we had about every maintenance guy out there trying to figure it out. Oh, I'm trying to think of I don't know, you got any moments while I'm trying to think of another one? While you do that and talk to them there, I'm going to go in here and turn this radio off. dispatch having problems. Over here.
So there's a lot of wacky things that take place in training and on any end of it, and there's a lot of old traditions of messing with trainees, and pulling pranks and stuff. But some of them you gotta be really careful of, because some of them are intended to test you, but communication is a very important thing. Like when the boss wants to test the trainee's ability to react to something, that you should probably at least let the trainer know about it. And the reason I say that is because I had it happen one time that I was training someone, and this trainee happened to be a close friend of mine, but the manager decided they wanted to test his ability to react by giving. We were going to ride a shove, and he was learning how to car count, but our yard is situated in a way that sometimes you can, even if it's around the curve and you got cars there, that you can't really see the cars you're gonna come towards. It's still measured out, so you usually know what the car count is gonna be before you even have visual on it. However, he hadn't learned how to do this yet. He hadn't mapped out the yard fully in his mind yet. But the manager wanted to test if he would be able to knock his count down, adjust his count if he counted wrong. So the boss gave him a fake car count to start with. I don't remember what it was. I think it was like 36, something like that. Which it should, by the time we rounded the curve and had visual, the count should have been about 20, 25. That's what he counted. When he counted the 25 mark, as soon as we rounded that curve, it was about maybe 12 car lengths away. Needless to say, I was making a horrified face, and I was told not to walk him through it to see if he would do it. And so I waited another 3 car lengths to see what would happen, and then I'm just like, do you see the distance? He said it's 20 cars, isn't it? I'm like, that is way less than 20 cars, man. So that was about all the hint I was allowed to give him, but he took the hint, and thankfully the engineer also was an experienced guy who knew what he was doing and able to get the train down in time. But that's...
How long was this guy been training since then? How long has this guy been training since then?
He's
I mean, should he had a good idea how this works? I mean, heck, it didn't take me too long to figure out car counts.
He was probably... Well, I mean, again, you had Class 1 training, but
yeah, I mean, still...
he was about...
Totally difficult, though.
He was about...
That's one of the biggest things within the railroad. Most people tend to catch on to pretty quick is the distance, because
he was about maybe a month and a half into the job, and keep in mind this was during our slow season.
Yeah, I guess it is easy to forget when you're zoned out. That's slow. Yeah.
But the point of what I started talking to them when you were gone was there's a lot of tricks that are played on new guys. Some of it's not even out of malice. Some of it's just genuine tradition. Let's have fun with the new guy kind of thing. But a lot of it can end up making accidents.
Like the one train master that I heard about that thought had the brilliant idea to throw a blue flag on a main line in front of a mainline train.
Ugh. That's not what a blue flag's for.
According to this train master, that's what he thinks it's for. He would try to get people fired by throwing the blue flag in front of their train.
Wait a minute, you told me this story before. Didn't he end up getting fired for that?
I think so. I'm pretty sure he did. Yeah, just trying to throw blue flags in front of mainline freights and some of these road locals, too, that go out to different towns to do locals. Yeah, he would throw blue flags in front of them, too. I think what ultimately got him caught is one of these trains had a inspector or superintendent ride along. He just happened to be on the train and didn't know what the train master was trying to do, and the guy got off the train and fired him right on the spot.
Well, yeah, that's some dangerous stuff right there.
That was the funniest thing I've ever heard, I think.
Especially if a derail accompanied the blue flag.
Yeah.
Which doesn't sound like that time there was, but it wouldn't surprise me.
Haven't heard about any derailments caused by
No,
guys.
not derailments. Derail the device.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Which that would have caused derailment, but it doesn't surprise me if it doesn't surprise me if someone out there tried that.
That Trainmaster, whoever it was, tried that. Then there's the one story I found out more about the guy who would basically took up permanent residence in one of the yard offices down in Marion. This was early NS. This was early 2000s. Like, this was, I think this guy retired somewhere between 03 or 05, but, you know, hired on for the NW with the NW decades ago. But, you know, like, this guy and his marriage was so far on the rocks. Like, this guy would literally live out of the yard office for, like, couple decades, I think it was, before the superintendent found the guy. I think it was superintendent, and I think the story was his son was also higher up above some of the train masters. He was almost like kind of the head of the conductors and some of these trainees. You know, he was like kind of the bigger guy below the superintendent. It was the superintendent's son that was in that position, and they were doing rounds around all the yard offices and checking out other yard jobs, and some of these guys, you know, getting closer to retirement, you know, checking in on all of them, basically, what they were doing their rounds. When they found this guy in the Marion Yard office and got the whole scoop and everything he was doing. Somehow a lot of the other lower ends of higher ups just didn't say anything unless they just didn't really have a whole lot of supervision down in Marion. I'm not 100% sure really how busy that area was back in the day with the locals. I'm sure they had more customers down there than what they do now.
Apparently not that busy if somebody was sleeping in the stinking office.
Yeah, did it for years, to my understanding. Don't necessarily, I'm not sure if I really want to put names out there, but I just recently found out the guy's name, and like, you know, the guy has probably been gone.
Yeah, don't name names.
No. Yeah, that was probably the craziest story I ever heard on the railroad. Like, this guy had a whole, like, one of those yachts you put between two trees, sleep in one of those in, like, the corner of the yard office. Like, the guy, apparently when they found him, I think he was drunk, too. Apparently this guy was a real, you know, extreme drunk, like, just drink a lot.
That'll get you fired faster than anything.
Yeah. But she didn't get fired, my understanding. He has so much seniority, apparently they let the guy retire with, you know, the benefits he would have normally.
It's basically getting fired without being fired.
Yeah.
Because the railroad is the railroad is dangerous enough, and the companies know that the railroad is dangerous enough without somebody being under the influence. So if you're somebody who likes to drink a lot or do any kind of drugs, just stay away from the railroad. You will be found out, and you will be fired.
Yeah.
It's like as much trash talk as you might hear about the railroad on social media from people who work on the railroad. It is by and large still a safe place to work because of how seriously the companies take safety.
Unless you're an ass, that they seem to slowly be throwing the whole idea of safety out the window. When, you know, at one time they're the safest company to work for. You know, now you just have an ass. That's all I can really say.
I mean, they're still mostly safe. I mean,
yeah.
Yes, PSR. It caused East Palestine, and that was a thing. We're not gonna try to hide that, but
no.
It was a mostly isolated incident. But these derailments, you know, everybody's warned that they were going to happen for years. And
I mean, that's almost had a near miss today down in Springfield. We heard about that. Like, they basically had the same exact problem with a car that they had in East Palestine. Like, the axle got so hot it was just spitting molten metal.
Yeah, they didn't want a repeat of it, so they actually did something about it this time.
Yeah. First time that new defect detector was actually being able to catch a defect. You know, they've been pretty good not having defects down there, but, you know, since the defect detector was installed over there on the west side of Springfield, Ohio, you know, it was able to register its first defect, because, you know, I was starting to wonder if it was able to do that the way it was just not throwing defects when other defect detectors were.
Well, oftentimes when a defect comes up on a train, it's usually a decent ways through the trip, and the 185 detector, it's in such a position on the line that no problems have really had an opportunity to come up to be detected.
Yeah, yeah. It also helps with springs, but it is pretty slow. So that's 35-mile-an-hour speed zone on the Dayton district.
Yeah. Especially if it's like a Hot Wheel or a Hot Box, like you're not going to detect that at 35 mile an hour unless it's severe.
Like it was today. It's got so hot it just completely melted the axle.
Like,
to my understanding.
Like it's just a handbrake that wasn't completely untied, but not. They didn't finish untying it. Like you're not gonna detect that at 35 miles an hour.
I'm thinking this might actually been an actual faulty air brake system on that car.
Right, and that happens.
Yeah.
But I'm saying there are things that there's nuances to what causes some defects to get detected and some not, or at least detected in this location.
And for some of you guys who don't know how they work all of that, usually when they get a defective car like that, I don't know if you ever seen some of these, I guess some people call them sidings, but they don't have a switch on both ends. We call those stub tracks. That's a lot of times that is where they'll put a lot of these bad ordered cars in these stub tracks that are not in the way of like sidings or main lines, where they can just set them aside until maintenance can get out there and fix them, and then have another train pick them up, or have a local pick them up, and they can be sent on their way. It's usually how they do that.
They will stick it in a siding though if they have to.
Yeah, we've seen that. It was was that three, or I think it was a 3-pack of intermodal. They had to do that too in London a while back.
Yeah,
because the brakes got stuck on it or something.
I don't remember what was wrong with it, but something was wrong with it, and they had to stick it in the siding because they couldn't take it with them.
Yeah.
I know they had the siding. I know they had it in the siding for a good day or two. Which doesn't sound like a lot of time, but it's a lot of time when it's freight that has to get moved and you got it stuck in the biggest siding in the system.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to keep that blocked very long, especially when you get congestion.
But it was better they did that than try to take it to Brooks or Enon. It definitely would have caused problems if they tried to take that to Enon.
Yeah, guys, that's really about all I got. I really don't have anything really crazy off the top of the head really to say on our experience.
It's probably best that this one's just mostly a rant. Get it out of our systems.
Yeah. But yeah, guys, definitely keep a lookout for the video series that I'm going to start working on. I'm going to hopefully work on trying to get my first job out. For the majority of it, though, we are looking at probably starting filming in sometime around July, as I got a few other things that I got to take care of. But other than that, I like to try to get that video series started in July, and I'll definitely get a few uploads out here. In the meantime, I have one here on Memorial Day rail fanning. I'll definitely get that video out within the next week, I would say. And then possibly another intercity routes, which I'm not going to be doing that on the counties anymore. I want to kind of focus more on cities and rail fanning hotspots when it comes to the rest of my intercity route series. Make it a little bit easier where I don't have to drive to a county clear across the state like 3 times just to cover all the towns in that county. It's just better to just stick with one town and then that'd be it. Or we'll say there's 1 or 2, 3 towns maybe in a county that is good to cover. Do that and then move on. That's kind of what I want to do with that. But yes, the first job I believe I'm going to start on is going to be Huron, and then from there I believe it's going to be somewhere around the Fostoria area or something in Bellevue. It's going to definitely be Fostoria, Bellevue, and kind of the local towards Huron, and then the one local towards Cleveland, Rockport Yard. I think that's like L20 or L15, something like that. I think it's L20 that does that. Yeah, that's something, guys, for you guys to keep an eye out on and look forward to. Is I got about 3 uploads planned between now and July and a little bit into August. That's about all I got to say. I don't know if you got anything else you want to tell them.
No, I'm just along for the ride.
Alrighty.
God bless y'all.
Yep, and if you guys liked this video, make sure to like and subscribe, and I guess I will see you guys for the next one.